Life gives you a million reasons to make excuses that get in the way of what you truly want.
Being a business owner, spouse, and mom can be a recipe for straight chaos, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it anyway. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Laura.
We're two best friends who catch up through the podcast
and talk everything to do with this messy but fun life of entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Oh, I'm already smacking my mic. Don't mind me and my lovely raspy voice this time around.
Yeah.
I prepared this sexy rasp just for this episode.
For special episode number 2.
That's right. We went away. Some of my team and my friends and I went away, actually up to Halifax. I got to see Chelsea, which was great. For a little business conference. And the night before the conference, 3 of us that are all moms, like 2 of us have 3 kids and the other one has 5. We obviously don't get out very often. So we were kid free for a weekend. And let's just say we went all out. We made the most of it. And I partied the hardest. And I sang over all the songs. And I lost my voice. So
yeah,
I'm sorry
it's still lost.
You guys.
I wonder how long it's going to take for it to come back. That was like Friday night? Yeah, that was Friday
night.
And it's now Tuesday.
So that's like, anyhow.
Yeah.
Maybe I got to learn my lesson and like shut up and let my voice heal. I think I try to talk too much.
And here we are doing the podcast.
yeah. But it was a very talky weekend because you and I got together. So then we're talking the whole time. Mom and I were driving home together. So that's a 5.5 hour drive.
Chat.
Talking.
Yeah.
So anywho, I haven't had much rest of my voice. And I really need to find a better spot for my drinks because
keep hitting the mic. We were just realizing that we never talked about last time, like why we named our podcast what we did, which is do it anyways.
Yeah.
And the funny part is we tried so hard to come up with like a clever, name because Laura and I are both like perfectionists as far as like branding and marketing. And we were, I don't know. How long did we even look into it? We were
thinking on that for months. Yeah. We just kept stalling and we were like, okay, we're never going to start if we don't have a name. Like we just have to do it anyway. Yeah. And then we were like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah. We're just going to call it.
It just kind of dawned on us.
Yeah, because that's kind of like our life mantra with everything in business that we've done for the last, for me, 11 years. Yeah, it's been a long time.
And for me, 9. I've had my business for 9 years now.
Yeah, so I feel like everything we've ever said, like, how are we going to do this? Because of, we've got this in the way and don't have time, don't have this, don't have that. And it's like, you know what, just do it anyways. And that's
exactly.
Yeah, we live by that every day. So anyhow,
so that's the name of why not call it that?
Yeah, exactly. That's the name
That's
of
our
podcast.
Baby. And if we choose to change our name later, then we'll let you know.
Right, exactly. Something
that's
else
the other thing we kind of that's the other kind of thing we talked about is like it's okay if this evolves down the road. Like we need to stop putting so much pressure on it and just start and do it anyway. So like not to overthink that aspect of it because our lives change and evolve. So it's okay if our podcast changes and evolves with us.
And our business every single day. And I feel like it took me a long time to start giving myself permission because I think we judge ourselves so much when we make a plan and it's almost like you feel like you're not following through or you're failing at something.
Right.
But instead, like think of it as adjustments. Like you're constantly making adjustments and changes. And I have started and stopped so many things in the last couple of years, but differently than before, because in the past, if I started and stopped something, you'd be like, oh, you didn't make a habit out of it. You're not following through because I was doing it for a different reason. But because I've learned for 11 years on what has worked and what hasn't, when I start to see something isn't working the way I had hoped, it's like, it's not because I didn't see it through. I've already learned that's not it. So then I constantly readjust and do things that way. So anyhow, yeah, back to the point that you were saying.
Like I say to myself all the time, kind of on that note, and to my team all the time, try, fail, adjust, right?
Yeah.
Don't try, fail, try, fail, try, fail. Try, fail, adjust. You have to have that adjustment. So like you said, like just because you had this great idea and you think it's going to be the best thing, if it's not, that's okay to switch gears. Right? Anywho, we're so far off topic.
We are so far off topic already. But I'm just adding one more thing to that, because I would not want somebody new on my team or new to real estate to like think that you try something for a month. Ugh, can't do that. Like, it depends on what you're talking about. So you need, that's what I mean by I know when I can make adjustments, and I recognize that. But
you start to see the patterns. You do have to give things time. Like I definitely feel, and everything's different, right? Some things need longer to see the cycle through and know if it's working yet or not than others.
And the biggest thing I'll say,
the signals earlier.
What is coming up on my computer? The biggest thing I'll say in real estate in that regard is prospecting, which is the biggest part of our business, whether people realize that or not. That's what you should be focusing the most amount of your time on. And you can't just start something and think it's going to work in a month. We always say 3 to 4 months to test it out and being consistent and creating that habit. So anyways, we'll dive into those topics a different day.
Because they are good ones. Like I feel like we should write that down before
we do have a note section, so we should.
I'm going to add that in there while we're thinking of it, while you introduce the actual topic
today. So today we're actually talking about how to navigate getting out of a slump. Because we do this a lot. We should be professionals. Yeah. We should be professionals by now, but we're not.
I'm a professional slump getter-inner.
Yeah.
And so I do have a lot of tools. You have a lot of tools or recommendations for getting out of them, but like I don't always follow my own advice, you know?
Yeah.
But it is good to talk about those things, because I think people look and they think, oh, they never get in slumps.
I know people always say to me, like, how do you stay so consistent? And how do you, how are you always so positive and this and that? But that's not really the case. But I've learned a lot about myself over the years. And I will tell you, everybody is different, because there's way different coping mechanisms. But also I'm realizing when I started writing down my notes, which I will be referring to because I don't want to miss anything. There's different types of slumps, and some seem more negative and some are actually positive, but still aren't getting you the results. Yeah. So I'll mention the ones that I kind of wrote down, and then I think we can circle back to like, how do we like fix one of each of these scenarios? And then Laura, you can like add in whatever ones you have as well.
Exactly.
The biggest one, and I think the most common one that everybody knows about, is like lack of motivation and complete burnout. And I think that's what everybody thinks when you say getting in a slump. And to me, that's the worst one, because that's like, you're past the point of just like a little Band-Aid. You have to like fix this. Mm-hmm. So I'll get into how I normally fix that afterwards, but that's the first one I automatically think of.
Yeah. And that one for me, like on that same one, is like, especially after I achieve a goal, usually, or a specific milestone, because I kind of hit that wall.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That's like that little burnout for me, or sometimes it's the overwhelm of all the aspects of life.
Yeah. So maybe you need to like, well, I don't want to get into solutions, but I have an idea.
No.
Anyways, you probably do what I'm going to say anyways. And then the second thing that I have here is only working on things reactively in your business instead of proactively. And in real estate, that is a huge one. I find that a lot of realtors, oh my gosh, my mic is like falling. Okay, pause. I'll be right back, folks. I'll have to edit this out.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can just start that point over.
I know, but I don't even know. Okay, so I think what I was saying was that this happens a lot to realtors, and it's probably one of the biggest flaws, I think, to somebody trying to build a business, because it's so tough. So, for example, like, not even just new agents, just any agents. There's so many different seasons throughout the year in real estate where, like, sometimes you're running with clients, and then there's times in between. And I think a lot of agents are like, my job is to run with clients. So they kind of are reactive to however our market works. So in the spring market, they're like hitting the pavement. And then around Christmas and summer, they're like, my job's over. Like, I'm chilling. I don't have to do anything. And to me, that's business building time. That's like project mode. That's the best time to launch your business forward. So if your plan's just reactive, that's not going to keep your business consistent. So that is a major problem. And a slump, if you ask me, only focusing on that and not making time in your schedule. What's like, I'm sure that happens in our too.
We have a very similar type of thing, right? Because just like there's seasons in real estate, there's seasons in people's like shopping habits, number one, but also in people's in what people want. Like there's certain times of the year where people are more open to adding new income into their life. So that's times of the year when when we see more people joining our teams and helping people launch their businesses. Whereas other times of the year, people aren't necessarily thinking that. Sometimes the summer is hard for that because people are like, I just want to
go relax.
Take my downtime and like relax.
Enjoy the weather.
But yeah, we definitely have seasons and cycles as well. But I will say, like currently our new CEO, he is really shifting things with how he's rolling things out. Mm-hmm. And what I find is I'm not experiencing those same slumps because he's really good
dropping
at recognizing those. Yeah. So
I've noticed that with our bond. It's just like
he's done a great job at helping us build
keep the excitement.
It's awesome. It's really exciting. And it's the first year where I'm not having that. Like this is the time of year where I would start to experience that dip, and it's the opposite right now.
That's so
going
cool.
Like this. So it'll be interesting to see. So for the first time, we're not having that same type of slump.
That is cool as like
exciting.
One individual to make a change for so many people because they're a smart business person. That's actually incredible. And I didn't know that, but it's funny because when I say I'm obsessed with MLMs, I watch some of the things that Arbonne does and I try to think of like, how can I create those little spikes of excitement in my business? Like
in your business.
Where we're a service base. We're not... I mean, like you guys have an aspect of that, but I don't have cute little things to lay out. I have to create those things and tie them into my business or figure out how to do them as services. But anyways, topic for another day, but that is so cool. I did not know there was a new CEO. And I've noticed a difference.
Exactly. And I think the neatest part and what's so different about him, not to get off topic, but he was in network marketing. So he was in as a rep in another company. So
doing what you're doing.
That personal experience to the table that none of them have in the past. So I think he recognizes the things from the ground level where he was at, hitting the pavement, like you said, and he can like bring different perspective to the table. So I love that. Okay. Keep it on.
Yeah. Number 3 I have is creative block. So I feel like it's like, I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes it's hard. Like I find sometimes people say like, I don't like watching too much social media because I feel like it's a waste of time and I'm not being productive, but that's because you're just watching social media and maybe you're watching the wrong accounts for you at that time. Right. And you need to spice some things up. But sometimes you watch all these, it's the other end of the spectrum. You're watching all these cool accounts and you're like, how come I can't create those things every day? And how come I can't, like, it's like a creative block. You're not comparing yourself in a bad way. Like I love watching people on social media and I'm like, that's bomb. But then you're like, oh my gosh, this overwhelming feeling of like, I got to put a whole plan in place to be able to do these things every day. So you're like motivated, but you also have this like block.
Overwhelmed.
It's like, how do I do these and not completely copy people, but like
exactly
be cool again on social media.
Stay present, like stay
up to date. Like it's changed so much. And then that kind of rolls into like having like I guess that I kind of mix them together because that one was supposed to be like, you have no ideas, you don't know what to post. And then the next one was having too many ideas and not knowing where to start. So I think, number 3 is kind of like, like what the heck do I do? And then after you've done the work of like, okay, now I'm seeing what I'm going to do. The next creative block is how the heck do I do it? And when do I find time to do it?
Yeah.
Those
absolutely.
are mine. Can you think of any other ways you get in slumps?
I have some other ones, yeah, for sure. And one of them
did
plays
think of
really
another
off
one.
of one of them plays off of yours in what you said. Like sometimes I can get in that comparison slump and kind of be like, well, why did that work so well for someone else and it didn't seem to work for me? Like I do get into that comparison slump, and I always remind myself when I get there, like comparison is the thief of joy. Okay, I need to put my blinders on, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
And then also the one you just mentioned about like not knowing where to start. I find I do this in a lot of areas. I get into a slump on decision making. And I get so stuck in the research mode that I don't actually like make a decision and move on. And that goes for renovating. Literally everything in my life. It goes for renovating. It goes for my business. It goes for decision making on what dresses to buy for this event I have coming up. Like I over research everything and then just don't make a decision.
And sometimes that can cost you. Yeah, and sometimes that can cost you money.
So much time. Time is money, right?
I can honestly say if I do have a strength, it's the opposite
decision
of
making.
I'm like so concise, but the bad thing that comes with that is I can come off so brash and as if like I don't. Like I feel like. Especially like for my assistants, when I've had different assistants and different personalities, I tell them in the interview, like, you need to get used to me. And that's why I use voice notes so much, because I can be like, hey, like they know I'm in a good mood.
Exactly.
But like I cut
when
things
you
off for myself.
It sometimes come across.
They're like, gee, like what kind of mood is she in today? What did I do? But I do this to myself in my own head, but people maybe don't know. And again, like what I was saying before, like I can think of something and be like, no, that's not going to work, or stop wasting too much time on that. Like we only have so many hours in a day, and I've gotten good at saying that's good enough. Like getting it out there is better than not doing it at all. And if we take too long, then we're not doing X, Y, and Z and all these other things. So it's nice when somebody just understands and gets to know me. And I think back in the days when I used to work for Wayne, he's so much worse than me. And he's a man, not that matters, but like he doesn't have the extra like sensitive factor and
the nurturing aspect.
No, I was just like, oh my God. But I also admired him so much and still do as a businessman that I know I'm a lot like him in that regard, but I'm smart enough to be like, sorry, busy day, not being a bitch, but let's move on.
Exactly. Yeah. You recognize kind of those areas that you can soften the blow, so to speak. Not that it's a blow, but just like
you want them
preempting
to feel
this so that you know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and then the only other two that I kind of get in a slump on, and we talked about this weekend, is like food, body, clothes, and we won't necessarily get into the.
We will another day.
Of that,
I think we should, because it's a huge part of what we talk about.
But I think everyone at some point and in some way gets in those places where they just like they're not eating things that serve them and they're feeling like crap.
Yeah.
But they stay in that slump of doing those things. I'm speaking from personal experience right now.
If you want to talk about being consistent, I'm consistent in doing that, and not in a good way.
Right? Like
consistently, it's been a goal for the last 11 years.
Yeah, I get in those slumps. I know. I get in those slumps of, just why do I do this to myself?
Oh, I even do it as
like
far
self-sabotage for sure.
It is self-sabotage, and I've got content creation on there, and a lot, like one of my pillars for content creation is like fashion. Yeah. And wouldn't you believe that in my head, I'm like, well, like maybe I'll put like the home decor ones first, and I'll put those out a couple weeks because I'll have time to make sure I'm really feeling good. That's pretty bad. Who gives a shit? Yeah, exactly. I'm going to wear the cool outfits, and I don't care, and I'm going to celebrate later when I feel really good. But guess what? Do it anyway. But like, stop making yourself excuses, because that's such an easy one too, to be like, well, I don't feel that great, but like I'll work out for 2 months and then I'll do that. And it just
but we don't.
No, we gave ourselves the perfect excuse.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last one is seasonal. I'm a sunshine girl.
I noticed a lot this year for myself.
The summer, like spring and summer are my seasons, and fall. I love fall. Fall's beautiful.
Just winter. We hate winter.
Yeah, we just don't like winter. There's aspects of winter I love. Like I love Christmas and I love celebrating New Year's, and there's a lot of things I do like about the winter, like things that happen during winter. And I love snow. It's pretty, but I don't like the constant of it. So the seasonal thing really is a slump for me. I find that so many of those other things happen in the winter months for me because I'm already in a bit of a hibernation, slumpy, like stay
like
home, be alone. Yeah. So
I thought of
those
one
are my
more,
things.
Which I didn't think I was going to think of all these different ways to be in a slump. This sounds very negative, but it's actually kind of positive because then it's like, okay, well, we recognize all these things are happening all the time.
Yeah.
Here's a big one. Who you're surrounding yourself with.
That's actually one of my solutions.
Okay. Well,
but it's also a problem.
It is a problem.
It can be a slumper. A slumper? A slump causing thing?
Hashtag slumper.
That's not the most attractive word.
Good thing we have all of our terms down. This is such a professional podcast.
Right? Yeah.
But no, I think that's something that can be a huge slump. And you know what the hard thing is? Everyone's always changing. Like you're changing, but other people are changing. Just like we talked about before, it's not a bad thing to understand that everyone's going through different seasons at different times. It doesn't mean you need to end friendships. It doesn't mean you need to change everything. But you do need to be in your own head, self-aware of like, is this serving me right now? And if not, maybe you need to think of like other people in your life that you go meet up with for lunch, do a brainstorm, do something. We're getting into solutions. But it is something you have to be hyper aware of because if not, I'm telling you right now, it can throw you right in the slump with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
So now that we talked about all the things that can go wrong,
solution time.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of solutions. Hopefully
that's
they won't
good.
Be as long-winded as my problems.
But we also don't want to make them sound too easy. But my first one.
Oh, they're not easy.
Yeah, no. Well, this one's kind of easy, except for you have to financially save for it. But my first one is, if I'm fully burnt out, it's time for a vacation.
Yeah.
Seriously. Because what happens to my brain on vacation is I'm a very hyper aware of it.
But you're also very weird. This isn't obviously
that's true.
Super normal, by the way. I'm just going to asterisk this because go ahead, say what happens.
Everyone else is going away to literally get out of their mind, get loaded.
Shut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I go on vacation, this thing happens where all of my day-to-day fog from being reactive to my business, people being able to get to me. Like people can message me on my phone, but I've set up ways to cover my business. And my problem is at home, if I can physically get there, I'm going to have it on my mind that I should be there. But if I'm away and I can't get there, I'm like, what do you expect me to come back from Mexico? No. So I'll talk to you next week. And what happens to my brain, it's almost like, it's like I zoom out for my life and it's like so clear. Like, whoa, what if you just did this and think of this idea? So I bring a notebook with me or I'm in my phone and I'm like writing all these things. And my assistants at the time, like I'll come back and they're like, what is wrong with you? Because I'll have shared notes. Well, that's how I thought of this podcast. On my it wasn't actually with Laura initially, but I was listening to podcasts and I was you know, and I was like, this is something that I need to do. So I'm writing down all these topics. I'm sitting in like the lobby and RJ's running around. And then I go home and I had shared the note with my assistant, Jess. And she's like, what were you doing on vacation?
Well, that doesn't seem relaxing at all.
But to me, it's like this like blissful, exciting. I get to come home and be like, oh my God, my business is exciting again. I can't.
It's almost like a business cleanse for you.
It is absolutely
like vacation is a business cleanse for you.
I come back and I'm the best version of myself. And I explained it to Jess and I explained it to Ben when we're on vacation, like, because we did this in Bahamas too. We're sitting there looking at all these yachts. Not that I want one. I do not. He does. But I am just like this. I try to make the vacation mode and my space and of non-negativity last as long as possible afterwards. So you want to talk about surrounding yourself with the right people or no one.
That's actually my
sometimes I go home and I'm like, no, I'm in my zone. Like, don't you ruin my zone.
Don't mess it up. Yeah.
Do not mess this up. I need this to
do not enter.
Or I'm going to have to go on another vacation.
I'm in a bubble. Don't burst it.
Thank you. And it's a very energizing bubble, and it is the best place for me to be, and that's why I need to travel even more, because it brings the best Chelsea back to Nova Scotia every time.
Exactly. Ooh, and I'll touch on my I know. Well, we're going on a mini one, which I can't wait, but that's a little different. I don't think we'll have a ton of brainstorming, but I'm not going to do some. We always do. We always
RJ can't be like running around and me being like, ooh, brainstorm. I had help on that trip.
Right, exactly. But I'll touch on my travel one while we're here, because mine's a little different than yours. When I do travel and get away and get that time, I'm probably more like the rest of the population in the sense that I really do try to unplug and relax as much as I can. But it also gives me that like bigger picture of what I want more of for my life, for my family, for experiences, for my children. So that's a motivation piece for me. Like
that's why I end up writing notes, because what you just said, when I feel that on the trip, my problem is, like, in order for me to like feel good and not stressed, is I'm like solution. So like I start my trip and I'm like, this is amazing. How do I get more of this? And by the end of the trip, I'm like, this is how I'm doing it. But yeah, you're right.
Whenever you go away, I'm like, I know I'm going to get so many text messages from Chelsea.
Oh, Sheila books a lunch
when
every
you get
time.
Back.
Every time when I get back, especially if I go to a conference, she's like, when's our lunch?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to lunch with Sheila.
We know.
Sheila's one of our best friends that
you will definitely
I will call her. I'll say she's 65 for the rest of her life. She's more than 65, but she's 65. And
we stuck her at that age.
Yeah, she's our best friend. And she will be on this podcast. And we're
100%
2 hours for that one, and we're not going to bleep everything out. So we'll have to just put like a warning or something on it.
That one will definitely include wine.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And also like going. Yeah, so that's the travel one. It's not as long for me.
Look, I did it again.
What?
I'm like, oh, just hurry up. Cut you right off.
That's okay.
You're just used to me.
I don't care at all. I don't even notice. But yes, the people around you, because we were already talking about it with the travel part and before. Yeah. I actually think this is twofold. So the people around you, yes, we talked about sometimes that's a bad energy and you can kind of go down that path with them. But also the people around you who know you well enough to recognize that you're in a slump.
Yeah.
And say it to you. Okay. Yeah. So for me, that's Chelsea and definitely my mother. And there's some other people, but those are the first two people that recognize something. Even though Chelsea's in Nova Scotia, she usually recognizes like, hey, what's up? And she'll
But I have to call
kind
Laura.
of point things out. Yeah.
I have to call her because Laura can hide it in text messages and social media. So, but if I talk to her and we start getting in a conversation, I'm like, okay, 1 second. So I can notice it that way. I'm trying to think for myself. I kind of wear my emotions like so on my sleeve. I wonder, I don't know. Ben checks me though. I'll tell you that right now.
That's good.
It is good, honestly.
You do need those people that will recognize it and call you out on it so that you can so you can at least start to recognize it yourself and address the issue.
Yeah, his are like on micro levels. Like Ben would never get into like, oh, like I've noticed lately. Yeah, no, he doesn't think that way. But sometimes if I say something, he'll be like, okay, but 2 weeks ago you were saying just the opposite. So like, why is that a big deal? Like he'll definitely snap back, and not in a bad way. Like in the way sometimes that I'm like,
in a solution-based way.
Most times, other times I'm like, get out of here. Yeah. But he also, like, you always need that person.
You do.
Yeah.
So find that person.
And Sheila does it too.
And yes, she does. Not to me as much anymore, just because I'm not physically there. So she doesn't necessarily hear me to recognize it, right? But if you don't think you have that person yet, like, I think you need to make it okay for one of your friends or family members to have that open communication with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And you need to choose to, like, not be offended. And even if you, or be okay with being offended.
Yeah.
Like,
sit in your feelings for a minute. That's okay.
Exactly. Why did that person say that? Did they say it from a place of, like, that's why.
Of love.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So if you get, like, if you get feedback on something, think about your relationship with that person. Does that person want the best for you? Are they cheerleading you? Are they a support system? And if the answer is no to any of those, their opinion doesn't matter. They can say it, but it doesn't need to affect you, and you don't need to fester with those feelings. Like, only the people that want the best, like, why would they bother going out of their way to have an uncomfortable comment said unless it's to serve you better? Because if it's to take you down, there's something else going on.
Well, and that's not just your person. I was going to say, those aren't your people.
Yeah, no.
But, and then the better layer of that is, like, the people, yes, that recognize you. But if you're coming out of that slump, or you want to come out of that slump, start to bring those really positive, high energy people around you, the people that are successful in what they're doing that you aspire to.
Right.
This rolls in really well, Chelsea, with one of yours as well. I know, like, following people on social media. So we'll touch on that in a second. But you want to not only physically surround yourself with those types of people, but look at what you're looking at. Are you watching we do this, but are you watching a bunch of trash TV that's, like, subliminally also keeping you in a negative spot?
Oh, you know what's so funny? That the opposite happens to me. If I'm getting burnt out, because my mind does what we talked about on vacation, the only way to get my mind out of that mode and making me more stressed is to, like, watch somebody else's hilarious drama, and I'm completely distracted by mine, and that part doesn't stress me out. But this just goes to show how different it is for everyone.
Right? But I just find, like, you also don't spend hours on end sitting there.
No.
Some people can really get consumed by that, and they have, like, multiple reality shows, and they're essentially living in that negative reality instead of addressing their own.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Anyways, and I find too, like, podcasts, audiobooks, books in general, social media, it makes it so much easier now to go and find those people.
Yes.
If those people aren't physically surrounding you in your area, it is a lot easier now to access some brilliant, motivating, inspiring, successful people and follow them, listen to them. Like, that's personally what I do. I throw a podcast on every time I take a shower and get ready.
I do it when I work out.
Yeah, workout, fold laundry, any, like, mindless task that you can pump yourself up with that kind of positive,
atmosphere.
Yeah, do it,
Yeah. And not even just that, like, it would be ridiculous if somebody saw, like, basically my Pinterest boards, but in the back of Instagram and TikTok, I've spent the last year saving different areas of, like, like, even if you're not ready to do it, you can't just, like, choose to be ready to do it and then have nothing. Like, I have been saving. Like, who do I want to be? What do I want to post? Like, what type of, like, just keep saving and following. Yeah, keep saving and following all the things that make you feel better in that moment.
Good.
I love that. I want to do this. I want to do that. Not only that, like, I've done that on TikTok to, like, help me be motivated to eat healthier. And, like, I've got, like, certain friends, me and Cameron will send back and forth, like, food recipes all day long.
All day.
Like, all day long. It's ridiculous. But it's good. Or you get other ones where people do, like, a little mini vlog of them getting up and, like, working out. And then, like, before you know it, you're getting up, you're working out, you're eating healthy. Like, there's just surround yourself for
what you watch matters. So if it's there, it's a reminder. You know? Yeah. So did you want to touch on we talked about, I guess, the social media one, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, kind of. I'll touch on the one that's only working on things reactively to your business. I do this thing where I feel like it's mundane. If you're sitting in the same spot, you're doing the same thing every day. So if I want to brainstorm something, like I'll grab my assistant and either we'll go in the boardroom and have snacks, we'll go to coffee, we'll go to lunch. I make the activity fun to change, kind of like a little mini vacation, but to change, not a vacation, but it changes your mindset to be like, I'm going to treat myself to this fun afternoon of brainstorming, coming up with things. And if you don't change where you're physically at, for me anyways, it's not as fun. I feel like I'm still distracted by the same things. Here I am looking at my email. I'm doing this. Oh, shoot, I forgot that pile of papers on my desk. Remove yourself from the stressful situation and go and have fun trying to make your next, like, get inspired and brainstorm that way.
Exactly.
So we do that a lot when we're in a slump or I'm in a slump and I'm like, I don't have enough of this stuff going on. How do we fix this? We start with the brainstorm. And then we're all pumped up and ready to go and like working on that. And what goes hand in hand.
And then you are being proactive versus reactive.
Yeah, well, kind of, if you take the next step that I'm about to say, which is when you have too many ideas and don't know where to start, which is what you were left with after you brainstorm. If you just did the brainstorm, which happens so much when you go to a conference, when you go anywhere, you get overloaded with all this information. You're all excited. You had a great time. And you're like, oh, I got all these ideas. And then you don't do any of them. Well, that's not great either, because and then if you just keep going to more of the self-help things, you feel like you're being productive, but you're just gaining the information and you're not doing anything with it.
You're not taking action on anything.
Yeah. So then you have to take the time to actually, like, this is what I'm doing right now, is like, at first time in my life, I'm planning out a content creation planner. Like I didn't feel the need to do that because I was just like doing it day in and day out, but that needs to be a big focus on my business. So I'm actually taking the time to make a plan. I am starting already to time block, hence what we're doing to even record these podcasts. And I'm going to be diligent with it. And I'm excited to see what happens from that. But if you don't take that step, I don't think you're going to feel like, that's awesome, I did that.
Yeah.
You're not.
And just implementing, just implementing one thing and taking action on one thing, I find like it snowballs. And then you start to see, you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't that hard. And look at,
and sometimes it's kind of fun
from it. Yeah, it is fun, right? So look at what, at first, a lot of times at first it's uncomfortable, and that's okay, because something new is often uncomfortable. And
I'm just laughing at us with this because we don't know what we're doing still.
I know, but we're just chatting. This is how we used to be when we went to coffee,
had our notebooks,
and we'd go out to eat. We'd go to Starbucks. We'd buy a new notebook. We'd sit down and we'd go, like, because we love stationery, and we'd go crazy with all these ideas and stuff. And then we'd have that like back and forth of, okay, like, what one of those is a priority for me to take action on and implement right now. You know? So that's why that's literally why we started this, is so that we still had that layer of
accountability and creativity and friendship.
Yeah,
everything.
Exactly. So I do think, like, when you finally, it's almost like creating a new habit. It's hard to do at first, but it pays off tenfold, right? So then just keep doing it, I guess, is the point.
I listened to the one thing I'm going to say with this, because I learned this from a podcast, I think. But somebody said once, and this made a lot of sense for me, if you're like me, where I just keep adding things to my plate. Take some shit away. Like, analyze what you're doing now. Why is your plate so full? And does everything still matter as much? Does it? Because you can take stuff off your plate too.
Off your list. Yeah.
Like, prioritize it. Is this working? Am I getting sales from this? Is it something I could just make a tweak to and it would be successful? Or is it time for me to say goodbye to this? Yeah. So you can swap things out in your business too. There's only so many hours in a day. And I think that's a really important thing that I've really had to learn over the last couple of years. And I haven't mastered it yet either. And I think you're constantly having to do that. It's like your clothes. When you clean out your closet, you got to clean out your business and start putting some new things in that are useful for today.
Such a good analogy. Yeah, exactly.
I saw that one. Thank you.
Oh my God. Okay. Another thing that really helps me get out of a slump and I think you just touched on this a little bit, is attending a conference or event.
My favorite.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I think that so many people these last few years, that's been the hardest part, is if you were going to in-person events and conferences and then all of a sudden they were like shut down and everything was virtual. Virtual was fine at first, but then it got to the point where it's like, this isn't the same. You don't feel that energy and excitement in the room. You're not
and like being on a trip.
Yeah, you're not face to face with people. You're not out, like you just talked about, you're not out of your normal environment to get that creative piece going, right? So attending conferences and events is a great way to get out of a slump, and it also doesn't need to be industry specific. So if you are a realtor,
I don't like industry specific ones anymore at all.
But I think that's another place that you can grow, right? Because we have specific ones in my company, and I love them. But
I think your company
Chelsea doesn't love hers, but
I would rather go to the Arbonne ones. But I'll tell you why.
I know.
I'll tell you why. But I think Arbonne does bring in specific people that talk about things differently and about business.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Rather than just like, I don't know. Our industry, I do think it's important when you're new. There are some great, like to come in, learn the fundamentals, hear this stuff, hear the other agents talk in the room. Mm-hmm. However, I've always been such a fan of trying to not be the standard realtor in a box, to the point that sometimes I don't want to hear what realtors' ideas are, because I'd rather pull from other businesses and look different and stand out in our industry. And I think if everybody goes to the same conference and is left, like in real estate, they seem to literally be like, if you do these specific activities, like literally it's like,
you'll be successful.
Here's the 27 touch points you need to have with your clients after closing every year. And then you'll get repeat and referral business. And then everyone's doing the same stuff. And then you all look the same, and it doesn't look genuine. And I'm like, how is that fun? So I'm not crapping on it. I think they're important if that's what fuels you. But if you ever have the opportunity to go to one that is not real estate related and try to convert that back, you're forced to use your own creativity to convert and fill in that void of, how could I put this idea in my business?
How does this apply to my business?
Exactly. Yeah. Or how can I change it so it does?
Exactly.
So anyhow.
Yeah. And there's so many different things that you can look for on that, like local ones that you do travel to a bigger city center and they're a bigger environment. You can go to more intimate, like business retreats, or you can go to big conferences. So I think mixing it up all the time is so good and so important, because you get something different from all of them.
I keep telling Laura I'm definitely going to be tagging along for one of hers in Arbonne, because
I can't wait.
Their conferences are huge
and they're so fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely going. Everybody thinks I'm in Arbonne because,
I'm going to go to a 10X one with you.
Yes, please.
You've sold me on that. I can't wait.
Well, I mean, it's crazy and it's very intense, but
yeah, I'm crazy and intense. Hence my lost voice. But I also think, like, I've been to a small retreat one at like a little seaside resort, and that was so good and so powerful too, because you really got to know the people you were there with, and everyone's so transparent and vulnerable, and obviously you don't get that at a huge conference with hundreds.
But that's why Sheila and I always do like a recap together. We'll go and we'll take all our notes, and then afterwards we like collaborate and talk about it. Yeah. So again. It's good to mix it up. Yeah, it's good to mix it up. But like, let's say you're not exposed to that and you just went to a big conference. You can always create your own safe space afterwards on who you want to share that information with, and share your ideas that way.
Yeah. I have one more. Do you have any? More that we didn't cover yet?
No.
Okay, so my last one, and it goes with my first burnout thing, is after a goal and achieving something, I often hit like a wall with burnout. And the reason for that is if I don't have my next goal already in mind. Like if I don't already have that next, not thing I'm chasing after, because I don't like when people feel like you're always going for more, better, whatever. Like, not that that's wrong, but it's not right or wrong. It depends on the person. And I need literally like a carrot or something that I'm working towards, or I have a hard time working. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what I was just, go ahead.
My solution is I need to reset my vision and reset my goals. I have to. If I don't physically sit down, and yes, travel helps with that, because again, it like reminds me, okay, this is one of the reasons I'm doing it. But if I don't sit down and say, I want to hit this next benchmark in my own personal business, and I want to help this many people hit this benchmark in their business, and this is what that looks like. If I don't do that work to paint that new vision, then I have a hard time getting out of the slump, right?
But I think you could also have fun with that, where you treat yourself in a different way. That's like, because you guys go hard for close night, like the end of the month, to get those ranks, because like, anyways, I've just seen it on the sidelines. I always know, because I'll know Laura's up till like freaking 1:30 in the morning, and Zach's probably like, come to bed.
He doesn't care. Like,
he's used to it now.
Yay, I'm sleeping alone.
This is so peaceful. I have a whole bed.
She's not elbowing me because I'm snoring and telling me to roll over. Yeah.
But you're not only helping, once you've built a team in Arbonne, you're not only helping yourself, is like you're kind of committed to making sure that all the girls on your team are getting the most out of their rank that they possibly can. Yeah. And I think it's not a bad thing after a close or a rank that you get when you're feeling that burnout, to treat yourself with just like, you know what, I got 3 days or 2 days where I get to go out and just easy. I'm going to go have a coffee at this coffee shop. I'm going to go for a walk here while the kids are in daycare. And I'm going to go buy myself a little treat, like retail therapy. And I'm just going to not feel one bit bad about it. Like,
and actually, like, that's as silly as it is. That's one of my pieces of like goals and vision setting, actually, like vision setting, like same creating thing. That vision for myself is because if I say like, if I hit XYZ, a milestone or a goal, I will attach something like just a spa day, or one of mine last year was, okay, when I do this, I'm getting myself a new laptop. I'm treating myself to that. Like, and that's
I'm bad for that. And I don't have very many designer purses, but that's what I do it with at the end of the year.
Right.
If I get my goal, I'm like, screw it.
Yeah. Right. And yeah, like I feel like if you add those little treats for yourself, like you said, it's that extra thing to work towards. And I just attended a conference this weekend. And one of the girls had actually shared how you have to remember like why you're doing this business. This is on the flip side of what we just mentioned. Why you're doing this business isn't only material things.
No.
Sometimes we can get very caught up in, this is going to help me buy this house, or this is going to help me pay down my student loan debt, or this is going to help me, whatever, buy that designer bag or whatever the thing is, right? It's not all material. And she said, you have to also attach a feeling to it to feel like getting up and working.
Yeah. And so I think that's the difference between, I was just going to say, I feel like that's the difference between long-term and short-term goals, because I feel like long-term.
That's kind of our last episode. Like, how are you going to feel when you've arrived? What does that look like? And what is that?
One thing I'm bad at in the meantime is the treats that are not materialistic. So I think that more often, like I don't even take days off. That's so bad. Yeah. I should, if before I arrive, I can't wait till I arrive. Like when people say like, oh, anything can happen to you, and if you die and all you did was work, like sometimes that hits me a little bit hard. I do enjoy my life. We plan things with the family, so that part doesn't come into the guilt. But I think like my own personal time, I don't give enough of. Yeah. So at some point when I've got this a little bit more under control, I think I will start taking one day off a week while RJ's in daycare, where I don't really feel bad about it. That's something I don't do right now. We, as realtors, we normally work in the evenings, throughout the weekends, all that kind of stuff too. There's no real day that I'm like, I'm not doing that. But yeah, that's just a side note. I can't even, I caught you up so bad. I don't even know if you were done what you were saying.
No, I was. It just is like your vision and your goals aren't just physical things.
Yes.
It's also a feeling. It's also an emotional thing.
And I think because we were both so good at visualizing, we can feel that feeling with our goals. And I don't or vision. And I don't think that's necessarily normal. Yeah. that you have that thing in your brain that's like, I know if I get this goal, I'll probably kind of feel like this. And most times I'm right. When I do get it, I do feel a certain way.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about the long-term effects of doing these things that you've done to get out of the slump, like creating these new habits. Well, I guess that's my first one. New habits that are good for your business. So like you're creating more consistency that hopefully isn't putting you into this like burnout
up
slump.
And down.
Yeah, to give you more consistency to be like, okay, I can handle this. I know I need to get up and spend this much time on this and then it's done. Go ahead.
And those new habits actually like prevent you from getting in the same slump deeply again.
Yeah. Or you might get back there.
Yeah. You might get back there, but not as deep next time, right? Yeah. Like you'll get out of that rut quicker because those new habits are formed. So you're less likely to fall back into that old kind of way that wasn't serving you.
Yeah. And this one goes hand in hand with that, which is then you're personally like feeling better.
Yeah. I said all aspects of my life just improve. They really do.
Yeah.
Like I find when I'm coming up out of
when you're on,
they tend to. There's always usually one, and we talked about that this weekend. The food one, maybe not so much. It's the last one that we're like dragging along. But all aspects of my life tend to indirectly improve because I'm happier with XYZ. Like if I get myself out of that slump business wise, I'm usually a happier partner for Zach to deal with. I'm a happier mom. I have more patience. Like all those things, it kind of unfolds on all those aspects of my life. I keep thinking of new ideas
that I'm putting down.
It's great.
Noticing.
But you elaborate on that point too, because that was yours.
Well, I just got sidetracked with my own thoughts, but like one of them, which I think we could turn into a podcast episode, is like, the better you get at noticing this with yourself and your friends, like you notice this for your spouse. Like Ben and I go back and forth with different seasons of stress. Where I can see if like he needs to lean on me or if I need to lean on him. And we do that in very different ways. But that helps our relationship because I think if I can explain to him, you know, this next little bit, because this is stressing me out, I have to work on X, Y, and Z. I just had this conversation with him yesterday being like, it's tax time. There's going to be a lot of money that I have to save. And that means we're going to have to do this, this, and this. And after this, I think that if you could support me in, you know, really thinking about these next projects and trying to get those out of the way, that's going to help. So
it's going to take a stressor off.
And it was just a normal conversation now. And I think before, earlier in our relationship, it was this big thing where people would get offended. But like the more you're in sync with like your relationship, how to approach it, how are they feeling, how are they doing in their day to day, are they stressed out too, like how are we going to help each other through this as well, because you're living, you don't want the added stress. But anyways, it's just creating you feeling better and you helping your spouse feel better and your family feel better all at once. And then my last part to all of that is it's going to help your business financially.
Yes.
Which will also take away stress. But if you create these habits, as long as they align with what helps promote success in your business, which is hopefully what you're interested in, and that's why you're in business in the first place.
Yeah.
The more of these things you work on to create habits, you're going to see the benefits financially in your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's so easy to fall off after that because you're like, oh man, this is awesome. Now I'm going to go enjoy this. Enjoy it, but don't forget how you got there. Because if you get rid of that habit,
don't forget the things that got you there.
Yeah, keep doing them.
And that's where the burnout part is dangerous because it's easy when you're burned out to just be like,
screw it, I'm done. I don't care.
Yeah.
Burnout for me is like I get to the point where like I don't care, which is weird. It doesn't happen very often, but if it gets there, like it did happen when we don't, our only outlet is vacations, really, when we both take that time. So with the pandemic, as for everybody, like going that long with not having that outlet to
so many things,
to reset, that was hard.
But, no, for sure. And I have that same thing written down. Oh my God.
Abundance.
Like I find that if you can really get yourself back out of the slump, you will, using any of those habits, you will eventually have that rollover of abundance. So True. It is, like you said, maybe the abundance of finances, which takes away other stressors that are weighing on your mind. Maybe it's an abundance of time. That's something you and I have talked a lot about lately. Yeah. And I can honestly say I'm getting a lot better and I'm being more conscious of it, of like taking Monday and Friday because my boys are not in daycare and really trying to make like effort, like focused time on making that memory with them, making memories with them. So that like abundance of time is something that you ultimately might be working towards. And choices, right?
Something that you said was just book it, because another thing that we have coming up that we kind of touched on is we need to start booking more things, and we want our kids to know each other, even though we're in different spots. So in 2 weeks,
I know, a couple weeks.
Yeah,
we'll be on vacation.
Yeah,
it's just it's a staycation, like in the Maritimes, but
we're going to big old Magic Mountain. But you know what? The boys are going to love it, and we're going to take them to the zoo, and it's going to be awesome.
Stay at a bomb Airbnb, and we're going to get to create content. It'll be so fun.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I kind of wanted to just touch on with the long-term effects of getting out of a slump, which I think is really neat, is your energy is contagious, and you'll actually, especially if you share and like are a little more vulnerable, even on social media, sometimes I'll be like, holy moly, especially as I can feel I'm getting those habits established to get myself out of the slump. I do tell people, like, I've been in a slump of eating the fast food, eating all the DQ, like whatever. If you share that vulnerable piece and kind of show people like, this is what I'm doing that's helping me get out of it, and your energy starts to turn around, that's contagious to other people, and you do not know who you're going to indirectly help get out of a slump too.
I tell people all the time, thank you so much for posting your meal ideas and your workouts. Like, you are doing amazing, and I'm going to go work out right now. I tell people all the time.
Exactly.
We're literally, I thought we were going to do a quick one. We didn't. We're almost at an hour.
Oops, I just hit
So I'm trying to think of how to end this, but like, we don't really know. I think what we're really hoping, we don't
really know.
We don't know how to stop talking.
We don't have a clue what we're doing with this whole.
What I am hoping though,
we're just doing it anyway.
I'm hoping that if you take the time to listen to all of this, that either you in the comments will tell us like, either something you got from it, or questions or ideas for podcasts in the future, or just some sort of conversation, because we're so excited to start collaborating with this online world of friends that are going through the same thing. Because for us, we're trying to attract that. We're making our online
like-minded people.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like we want our online besties to come out of the woodworks and tell us too, like, I want to hear, we talked about a lot of stuff that helps us get out of slumps, but what do you do, right?
Yeah.
Like, to me, I always learn from other people. Yep. So I love hearing what someone else does. I know some of my friends, they focus more, and this is probably something you should do, Chels. They focus on a hobby or interest of theirs that maybe they've lost touch with. That can help them.
True.
Get out of a negative place or a slump or a rut. So that's one we didn't touch on. I love hearing your guys' ideas. So like, share them with us.
Yeah.
Share the podcast. Tag us with your lovely little ideas, because I want to see that stuff. I really do. Like, that'll make my heart bubble over with excitement.
Yeah, that's like the purpose of all of this. It's like finding all of those surprise friends online that think the same way as you and start like creating this community. So
love it.
Thank you guys.
Next time.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. We're going to get back on for another one soon, and
maybe I won't be so raspy next time.
Maybe you'll be healed.
Hopefully. Oh my God.
And thanks so much, and I hope you guys have the best day.
Okay, see ya.